All right. So for those of you who have been here for a bit, you're used to seeing our Salesforce portal, and we've only made a couple of small enhancements and adjustments of this year's application. And as always, it's easy to find on our website. If you go to the grant programs drop down, then choose the Salesforce tab. Will take you directly to the login, and you'll have the same username and password, the previous grant cycle. And that's, again, one project liaison per clinic has a login to Salesforce. If you need to add or change your project liaison or your login information, please send me an email. Otherwise, you will not be able to set up your account unless you are already put in as a project liaison. So just reach out to me if you need to make any changes to that. So once you log in, I'm going to switch now to, this is exactly what you're going to see, except your graphics will look a little bit on your end. This is the test program. But once you log into your portal, you'll see the 23-24 grant application there, but scroll down to 24-25. And you can choose the state funds grant or the dental behavioral health grant. They're both in the same location. For today's purposes, we're going to walk through the state funds grant. Primarily, everything will be the same within the dental and behavioral health grant in terms of functionality. So this will give you a good idea. This first page is going to have just your basic details for the grant program, some important reminders on dates for your reporting periods and your disbursement payment information. But here, apply here. This is going to take you into the application. You can also find the NOFA itself posted within Salesforce. It's also on our website, and we have a few FAQs that might help answer any questions you want. So once you go into the application, it's broken into pages, and each page is going to have several required questions. So it's not going to let you progress through the application without answering any of the required questions, which are indicated with a red star. If you want to view all of this information before you get into the application, there is a PDF version of both grants on their respective pages on the website, so that you can see all of these questions before you get in, rather than having to try to progress through the application, because it is going to make you put an answer for all of these required questions. So this first page is just making sure that you are an eligible applicant, and you will need to choose yes for all of these. If any of these raise a red flag for you, or you have a question or concern about your eligibility, feel free to reach out to me. On the next page here, it's being slow this morning. Very slow. There we go. This next page is going to be your organization information, which is actually pre-populated based on what we already have in the system. And to help with some record keeping and consistency things, the applying organization name that's going to show for you is actually based on what we have in Novi, our membership database. If you sometimes maybe your clinic is maybe has a different DBA name that you would like to include, that you would like to reference, you can include that in the DBA name field, but the applying organization name field is going to be locked. It's not going to let you edit that. So if you need to change that, then we would like to change that in all of our places within our membership database and Salesforce. So we'd like you to request that change through us, so we can make sure that we have everything working together. So actually right within the application, if you run into a field that needs to be edited or any question, you can use this assistance tab, which is going to be on the right-hand side of every page within the application. And this would just be like a general concern or question. And you can put your subject and description here, and that will send an email directly to me. So you don't even have to leave the application if you see something that needs changing. But again, your applying organization name is going to be a locked field based on what we have in our membership database. And then if you need to include some other DBA name, you can do that here. All of this information, same thing, it's going to be pre-populated based on what we have. So it's not going to let you edit these fields if you are a returning grantee. It's going to use what we have in the system. But if you need to make any changes, again, just request those. If you're not a returning grantee, then this is all going to be blank and you'll just need to fill this all out. If you need to select the counties served here, this field, a little note, just hold the control button and select multiple counties if you represent, if you serve multiple counties there. And then again, here, this is your financial information. Some of this may pre-populate based on what we had last year for you, but you can edit all of these fields. You can choose your fiscal year start date and end date if they are different from last year. You're going to choose your legal status. You have options here. Again, all of these are required fields. You will not be able to progress through the application without choosing an option. The CPA examination of your finances, you need to make a selection here. And if you were part of our webinar, we spoke about if you do not have a recent within the last 2 years audit or review of your finances, you can request funding for that. So then you would choose that you haven't had one in the last 2 fiscal years, and further in the application, you're going to indicate that that is part of your funding request. And you'll include the last date of that audit or review there. And this is where you're going to include your income and expenses, which also we covered in the policy and parameters webinar, that your request should be no more than 20% of your operating budget. And this is where we're going to check that. So be sure you're including an accurate budget, date of when your operating budget was approved by your board. Again, this note here that if you are part of a larger organization or group, you want to include budget numbers for the clinic itself, the dollars amount needed to run operations of the clinic only. And then here, if there is a 20% difference in your operating expenses between the previous years and this year's, this just allows you to kind of give an explanation of why that might be. If you select no, you can progress forward. If you select yes, then please provide an explanation of this difference. I'm going to leave that as no for now. And here is the project liaison contact information. And again, this is based on who we currently have listed for your organization. And it is pre-populated information that you are not able to edit without contacting us, because we need to be able to make those changes on our end in Salesforce and set up an accurate username login. So again, if this page is lacking any information or incorrect information, then you can right from the application submit a case or just send me a direct email. But you will need to choose if the project liaison is the authorized signature for the grant agreement. If yes, then you can proceed. If no, then it's going to ask you to provide the information for who that signer is. And again, this is going to be a required question, so we're going to leave it as is. This gives a brief budget overview, how the structure of the different budget categories is laid out for each grant. So this page will be different between the state funds and dental behavioral health grant. Just be sure you're reviewing this before you get into the budget request, because you need to make sure that all of your request line items match up to the approved budget categories. And it does cover the fact that our conference award is a part of this grant, as well as the CRM amount of $125. And at the bottom of the page, it's going to be maybe a little hard to see that there's a box here that you are checking to agree to the fact that you've read and understand this budget structure. If you do not check that and try to proceed, it does highlight it nice and easy for you. You can see in red there that that needs to be selected before proceeding. On this page, these drop downs, your selections here are what cause the next page to show fields for these different budget categories. So here you will need to say, if you want to request funding for personnel costs, operational costs, and programmatic costs, you need to choose all three of those. And again, your request can fall in one or all of these categories. But if you select no, then you're not going to be given the expense table on the next page related to this expense category. I think I saw a question pop up about whether or not you have to complete this all at once. And that's a very good question. Thanks for reminding me on that. This, as long as you select save and next at the end of a page, it's going to save all of your progress, and you will be able to return to this application at any point if you close out and log back in and go to the home page of your portal and access the 24-25 state funds grant application, and it will have saved all of your progress. So once you've selected which categories you would like to request funding for, when you go to the next page, you'll see now you have personnel costs, personnel expenses, operational. But since I didn't choose personnel or programmatic does not populate on this screen. So that previous screen is important to make sure you're choosing all the correct categories. This link here will be helpful as a reminder when you get into the application. It's a quick video demonstration of the expense tables, because that part can be a little tricky to navigate. But first, you're going to fill out all the narrative fields, explain the scope of work to be performed under personnel costs. So for personnel, your scope of work might be the staff that you're hiring. So be sure to list those staff titles, their job description, brief job descriptions, and dates hire. A budget justification is basically, how did you arrive at that amount requested? Why are you asking for this funding? Were any of the provided line items in the budget justification funded in the previous grant cycle? So if this is a personnel expense that you requested in the previous grant cycle was awarded, just let us know. Yes is going to give you this option to explain those funded items. No, if this is a brand new grant request, you've never requested funding for these categories, then you can select no. The statement of need is essentially why your clinic or organization needs this funding and how it's going to enhance your ability to fulfill your mission. And these last two questions help us prioritize how your funding is allocated if you are awarded. So if we cannot fully fund this request, indicate how much you would still need in order to implement the request. So if we can't fully fund it, what is kind of a bare minimum base for achieving your goals within this category? And then in this field, you can prioritize these three categories to help us determine if you only receive a partial amount of your award request, which categories would you like us to prioritize for your funding? So you can choose Personnel is a super high priority for you because it's hard to fund in another source, whereas maybe operational, you would put that as a neutral category, or even low priority. So those are your choices there. And then your personal expenses here. Now this is the expense table. So these fields are going to feed this expense table. And we'll walk through a demonstration of what this might look like. Personnel expense for, let's say, a medical director. You're going to choose a start date. It could be the beginning of the grant period of support, which is July 1st, or if you're funding this position at a later start date, you can include that as your date. And this is going to be a medical director salary. You're going to choose capacity building designations that are maybe the best applicable to this expense, and personnel service type. And then here's where you're going to put the dollar amount that you're requesting within this grant. And do not include the dollar signs or commas, just use full numbers. So if you're requesting $2,000, put that in this field. And the next field is any of this full salary amount that you're not asking for in the grant itself. It's being funded from other sources. So maybe your medical director salary is actually $5,000, but within this grant request, you're only asking for us to cover $2,000 of that. So you just put the full, the remainder of that amount in sources funded outside of FAFCC. And once all of these fields are completed, you'll add this personnel expense. And it's going to add this to this table. And you'll see here, this is the $2,000 that you're requesting. And I had already put in another example of an ARNP salary. And so these two, you'll see total. This is your total amount requested within the personnel expense table. And then you do the same thing for operational and or programmatic, depending on which categories of funding you're requesting. So here is your operational expense table. I've already put in an example, and my total is showing as $1,850 for operations. So you'll repeat that for every item that you're requesting until you get to your total award amount that you're requesting for that category. And then under FAFCC conference, this is an award given to send attendees to our conference. And this applies to the 2025, so I'm jumping a year ahead, 2025 conference. And then this is calculated by how many attendees you want to send, multiplied by the $350 registration fee for each attendee. So you only have to put the number of attendees you want to send, whether that be 1 or 2 there. And this is just a reminder that the $125 for your CMR licensing fee is going to be added to your grant requested amount. So once you go to the next page, it's going to total all of your requests. So based on what I input in the previous expense tables, plus my conference award, plus my CMR award, I'm asking for $5,700. And here you can this is a reminder to quickly check that this is going to fall within the guidance of capping your request at 20% of your operating budget if your budget is above $250,000, or 25% of your operating budget if it's less than $250,000. There is an opportunity here to explain if you're not following that guidance, but as we discussed in the previous webinar, the scoring rubric is going to take into consideration whether you followed this guidance and kept your request within these amounts. And here you provide a kind of overview of how this grant is going to help the target population and your community. And this page is specific to all of the outcomes that you're proposing with your request. What are the goals you hope to achieve with this funding? How will you track your progress and measure your success? And what is the anticipated timeline for achieving these results? So keep in mind here that that period of support is July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025. And so you want to show how you're going to achieve these goals within that period of support. And if you can focus on those 6, 9, and 12-month increments for our reporting periods, which again, those are listed on the very first page of the grant application, so that you can report at each reporting period, you can report progress related to those timeframes. And on the next page, it's going to ask about sustainability once it gets there. So we're asking some questions about other partners, maybe that are critical to your success, other funding dollars that you receive, and how you plan to sustain the scope of work outside of this grant cycle. So those are the sustainability questions. And then it's going to take you to the attachments. So these are the 4 required attachments: your 501c3 letter, your most recent board approved operating budget, the previous fiscal year's actual operating budget, and your financial audit review or compilation. And each one of those need to be uploaded here. You can, and we do ask that you try to follow this naming convention of attachment number 1, 2, 3, 4, and then your clinic name. You can upload, click upload, and find the file on your desktop, or you can even drag it and drop it directly into this screen. Once it has been uploaded, it will show you that it's successfully uploaded. You cannot view them on this page, but I will show you where the uploaded files tab is when you are done with your application, just to verify that those attachments came through. You will be able to see that. And once you've uploaded them all, just check here to confirm that you've included everything that's required. And the final page is the understanding of terms. So these are directly from the NOFA, just helpful reminders, things that you need to be aware of. And we ask that you read each and indicate that you've read and understand by checking the box for each section. And then at the bottom, there's a line for the project liaison signature, as well as the board chair or executive director's signature before proceeding. These are required signatures. And once you're done with each page, it will take you back to it'll take you to an overview page of each section. And if you want to return to a section and make sure that you completed it, you can select that and it'll take you back to that page. And once everything is completed, if you return to your home page, and again, this is where you accessed the application, but if you go under My Request, that's going to show your progress. It's going to show that you submitted, versus if you've started it and not completed, it will show a draft. So once you've gone and started the application process, and we said it would save any progress as long as you click Save and Next on that page, you can come back here to My Request to access your draft application or to ensure that it was submitted. And if you want to view your attachments, uploaded files is where you will find the list of your attachments here. So just encourage you to go back and make sure that you did upload all 4 of those required attachments, and you'll find them there. Okay. I'm going to point out a couple more things, and then I'll get to all the questions. Just a reminder of the application due dates for state funds grant. That's Thursday, August 8th. And for the dental behavioral health grant, that's Monday, August 12th. And then our award letters will be sent September 13th. And we ask that they be signed and returned by September 20th for the state funds grant. And September 17th and 23rd are those dates for the dental and behavioral health grant. There's a link here for strategy sessions. If you would like to kind of go into more detail on your application with me, you can schedule a time to do that. I'm going to go to our website and show you. This is a great resource. I'm trying to keep this updated with all the information you'll need. So it does have a reminder. So this is our state funds grant page, has a reminder of the grant deadline. There's a PDF of the application here, like I mentioned, for each grant. It's on its own page. The NOFA is available to download and review here. There's that link for scheduling a strategy session with me. And if you missed or would like a refresher on the policies and parameters webinar, the state funds grant webinar is posted here, as well as the slides. A copy of the evaluation rubric is also on the website, and a sample grant agreement from last year, just so you're aware of what that document would look like if you were awarded, as well as a Google Calendar for the entire grant cycle, so that you can save all of those dates in your calendar. And for the dental and behavioral health program page, there's the PDF form of that application, this NOFA, also the policies and parameters webinar for the dental and behavioral health grant is there as well. Okay, I think that was everything meant to be covered. So let me check. I know I saw some questions come in the chat. Let me look at those. Will Salesforce time out if we're working on the application? So the portal itself will not time out, but every browser is different. Every computer is different. I would always encourage you to save frequently as you're progressing through the application. And maybe even better yet, work on your narrative fields, all the text fields outside of the application, and copy and paste them in. Don't want to lose any progress. It will not auto save a page that you are currently working on. So it won't save the page until you select save and next at the bottom of the page. So you can do that frequently as you're working on it, or maybe work on it in a Word document and copy paste over your information. Once you input something into that expense table, that does kind of automatically save that expense table. So you won't have to worry about losing that, since you can't really complete it in a Word document. But best practices is always just to make sure you're reminding yourself to save that page frequently if you're on it for a while. If you do not see the applications yet within your Salesforce portal, it's because they're coming in like 2 seconds. They're supposed to be approving them to go into production right now. So they should be up within the next hour. I'll follow up with the programmers on that. I think I showed where the PDFs are. This presentation I am recording, and I will put it on the website. It'll probably within 24 hours, once the video is rendered, I will post that, as well as some screenshots that you can refer to in the slide presentation. And someone asked about editing the budget table, which is a very good question. So let me go back to within the expense table. You can edit. You can edit, but it won't. You won't delete any items. So if you make a mistake while inputting something in the budget table, just edit it. edit the amount. So if you do leave and return, unfortunately, these are not buttons that take you to where you want to be within the application. So you do have to progress page by page. So if you leave and return, just know that you will have to skip a few pages to get back to where you need to be. Okay, so within the expense table, there is no delete, but you can edit. So you can change the date. You can change the line item description and the amount. So I actually remember that to be $250. They're highlighted until you save. So update personnel expenses is going to save those changes in your table. So you can see here. So thank you for that question. That's important to note. And if you accidentally put an expense in and you did not want it in that table, feel free to just zero it out. Since you cannot delete it, you can just put a 0 or change it to the next amount that you want to request. So that's the best way to edit the expense table. Bettina asked, when you are asking for the actual budget for the prior fiscal year, are you asking for actual expenses versus the prior year budget? Make sure that I'm understanding that question. So Bettina, if you would like to unmute, feel free to also. But
hi, Kendall. Yeah, I just want to, it's just confusing to see actual operating budget. So the budget is the budget, but then when the actual happens, then it's the actual and it's different than the original budget. So are you asking for us to put in the actual expenses for the prior fiscal year? Or are you asking for actual and the budget?
We're asking for the actual numbers from your previous year, and then your proposed for this year, for this grant cycle year.
Okay, and that's in 2 different attachments.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Feel free to raise your hand or unmute and ask if I missed anything else. And again, feel free to schedule a strategy session with me. If you need any help as you're within the application, you can use this assistance tab to send an email or just email me directly, give me a call. And I'm looking to see if I heard back from them. You should see this in your portal within the next hour or two. And I'll send out an email update once it's ready as well, along with this recording so that you will have it on hand when you go to access your application. And if nothing else, then thank you all for joining. And I look forward to speaking with you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye.